Could Trump legally run for president again in 2028?
Let's think of that.
He's hinted at it.
We go to 20, we go to 24. Did you see it? Then it says 28, 32, 36, 40, 44.
Joked about it.
Based on the way we were treated, we're probably entitled to another 4 after that.
Even entertained the idea with his supporters.
There are really people out there think I'm not leaving. Can you believe it? Hey, maybe that is a good idea.
This idea isn't just coming from Trump. Republican Representative Andy Ogles even introduced a resolution to officially let him serve a third term. So, are these just offhand comments? Or could Trump actually run for president again in 2028? And how would that even work? Donald Trump has never been one to shy away from controversy or from challenging traditional norms in American politics, and the idea of extending his presidency beyond the traditional 2 terms is no exception. Let's be clear though, a third term for Trump is highly unlikely, if not entirely out of the question. But history shows it has happened before, as Trump likes to point out.
FDR, 16 years, almost 16 years, he was 4-term.
And no, it wasn't 16 years as Trump said. It was a little over 12 years during a very different time, before the 22nd Amendment established term limits for presidents. Let's go back to 1933, the start of what would become the longest presidency in US history. While George Washington set the standard by serving just 2 terms, Franklin D. Roosevelt broke that tradition. While other presidents had tried for a third term before, the instability of the Great Depression and World War II made FDR's case for stability much stronger. He was elected to 4 terms. But even with his popularity, about a third of Americans, mainly business people and the affluent, voted against him, fearing he was steering the country towards socialism. Some people even refused to say his name, referring to him simply as that man.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
Fast forward to the 1940s. After more than 12 years of Roosevelt in office, concerns grew about a president holding too much power. At the time, both parties were pushing for presidential term limits, worried about power building up in a king-like manner. In 1944, Thomas E. Dewey, governor of New York, warned, quote, 4 terms or 16 years is the most dangerous to our freedom ever proposed, end quote. Sounds familiar, huh? Then, in 1951, after years of debate among policymakers and following FDR's death, the 22nd Amendment was ratified. This wasn't a quick decision. It took about 4 years from its proposal in Congress in 1947. Ultimately, it was passed with the united goal of balancing power, making it crystal clear that no person can serve as president more than twice. This is whether they serve 2 terms in a row, or like Trump, return for a non-consecutive term. But could Trump get around the 22nd Amendment? Well, it's not as simple as just deciding to run again. To change the 2-term limit, Trump would need to repeal the amendment, and that's a lot harder than it sounds. To do that, Congress would need overwhelming support. They need a 2/3 majority in both the House and Senate. That's hard to achieve, especially with such a closely divided Congress. After that, 3/4 of the state legislatures would need to vote in favor of it. There's also another option, a constitutional convention, which 2/3 of state legislatures can formally request. If it happens, the convention can propose changes to the Constitution, but those changes would still need to be approved by 3/4 of the states. It's a pretty rare process and hasn't been used since 1787, when the original Constitution was created. So it's technically possible, but changing the 22nd Amendment is pretty tough, especially with the political opposition Trump would face. Regardless, one politician has taken it upon himself to stop it. In November of 2024, Representative Dan Goldman of New York introduced a resolution to clarify the Constitution's 2-term limit for presidents, even if the terms aren't consecutive. The resolution argues that the 22nd Amendment, which prevents anyone elected president twice from running again, applies to 2 terms in the aggregate, leaving no room for any potential loopholes. Republicans are chiming in too, with Representative Andy Ogles introducing his own resolution, which has been described as an extreme long shot. So, despite all the speculation, jokes, and confusion, Trump's third-term plan faces a major hurdle: the Constitution. While he may continue to fuel the debate, the reality is that America's system of checks and balances is built to prevent any one person from holding too much power, no matter how many times they try to run.